Au Maroc, en 56, au moment de l'indépendance, nous étions 500 000.
When Morocco became independent in 1956, 500,000 of us Christians lived alongside 9 million Muslims. Today, Morocco has a population of 36 million and no native Christians. There are 30,000 of us Christians, all foreigners, belonging to 90 different nationalities.
Et ces 30 000 chrétiens, nous sommes de 90 nationalités différentes.
Je crois que si l'Église au Maroc...
If the church in Morocco has enjoyed a revival, it is thanks mainly to the communities from sub-Saharan Africa. If not for them, the church would have almost died out a few years ago. After the last 10 years, there has been a wave of immigrants, especially of students.
La moyenne d'âge de la communauté chrétienne.
The average age in the Christian community is 35, which means we have communities that are very alive, full of faith, full of life.
Nous ne chantons plus des chants grégoriens, mais nous chantons des chants avec le tam-tam, avec le balafon, avec...
We don't sing Gregorian chants. We sing songs with the tom-tom, with the balafon. The choir does not sing with crossed arms. First, they start dancing, and then we sing. All that means another lifestyle, another style of faith. And that is especially important for all the young people, so they can live their faith and somehow find in the church a breath of fresh air. Because they have to deal all day long with a Muslim world. These are Christians on the move. They are people who spend 3 or 4 years in Morocco working or studying, or they are migrants hoping to move on to Europe. So it happens that every June I say goodbye to a quarter of the Christian population, and in September I welcome a new quarter.
Un quart de la population chrétienne, et au mois de septembre, j'en accueille un quart nouveau.
Questo fa è su noi.
No, è prima, è su di fa. Su di
The Italian Bishops' Conference asked me to come to Casablanca, to the Church of Christ the King, to be the priest of this community, which was a bit lost because they hadn't had a priest for 3 years. Currently, we have 10 Italian children under 9 years of age. As soon as the parents realized that there was an Italian church here, they immediately set up a catechism course. The Archdiocese of Rabat includes a multitude of languages, people, cultures, and races, and among them are Filipinos, who have an English-speaking culture.
Aujourd'hui, nous célébrons le Christ, roi de l'univers.
Au Maroc, j'ai 15 écoles catholiques.
In Morocco, I have 15 Catholic schools serving 15,000 young people. In these Catholic schools, all the directors are Muslims, all the teachers are Muslims, all the pupils are Muslims. I teach the Quran because it's an exam subject. I cannot teach the history of religions because that would be considered proselytizing. So in what sense are the schools Catholic? Because this is an educational project that Muslims and Christians have built together, based on the fact that God loves all men, that Christians and Muslims are in harmony, and from that flow the values of justice, truth, solidarity, reconciliation.
Being a minority, we need resources. We need pastoral agents who can really provide service. As we know, some of these communities are hundreds of miles away from home, so we need to be close to them.
A fianco della struttura dove si svolgono le cerimonie, le liturgie.
Next door to the building where we worship, we have a nursing home for the indigent, for people who can no longer live alone, who do not have any kind of assistance. They are ill and they are poor.
Pour nous, être chrétien, c'est vivre notre foi.
For us to be Christian is to live our faith among other believers. We live a faith that is perhaps discreet, but strong enough that it challenges people to have a different vision of Christianity, just as we too have a different vision of Islam. Not the sort we hear about in the media, a much more tolerant Islam, an Islam that knows how to welcome the other, an Islam that allows one to live his or her own faith.
Morocco is a welcoming country with a tolerant form of Islam. Working together in service to society also makes things easier. When we work hand in hand to help people or associations in social work, that can be easier than intellectual discussion.
Dans la Caritas, je tiens à ce
I want the
que le
director of Caritas to be a Christian, to show that it really is something that is in line with the church. But more than half of employees of Caritas are Muslims. So a Muslim can have a sense of the other, a sense of humanity. He or she can care for the poor, work in development or education.
Io sono stato incaricato dall'arcivescovo di Rabat dell'assistenza.
I have been tasked by the Archbishop of Rabat to assist the Christian prisoners in Okasha prison here in Casablanca. The assistance is religious, moral, and material. Because whoever is in prison in Morocco, whether sub-Saharan or European, has no family here, no friends, no ties to the territory, so he is alone. Many of the detainees, once they come out, may have contracted hepatitis. Other detainees are HIV positive. Most of them are sub-Saharan Africans, who they are in prison because they are sans papier, or undocumented.
Les routes migratoires sont très dangereuses et très violentes, on peut dire.
The migration routes are very dangerous and very violent. Rape and other forms of violence are common. So some migrants are traumatized, sometimes even before they leave their countries, because they are fleeing war. Others are traumatized along the migration route. Then, once they're in Morocco, life is not easy for Africans. There is violence. So a number of migrants need psychological support. Caritas is one of the few organizations to offer that psychological support.
C'est l'une des rares organisations à offrir un service d'appui psychologique.
Ci sono altre religiose che nelle loro case religiose permettono.
Some nuns allow friendly Moroccan institutions, which are tolerant and sympathetic to Christianity, to organize literacy courses for women in the convents. The Missionaries of Charity of Teresa of Calcutta have a small institution where they not only care for the poorest of the poor off the street, they also assist single mothers, girls who became mothers before marriage. These women are not only at risk of abuse from society, they are often rejected by their own families.
Au Maroc, il y a quand même eu une progression avec la Moudawana, qui est le statut.
In Morocco, there has been progress with the Mudawana, which is the so-called personal law. But Moroccan women still have a number of difficulties. Illiteracy is higher among women than among men. Access to work is much more difficult. And there are still young women who are driven from their homes. So there are difficulties.
Des jeunes filles ou des femmes qui sont confinées un peu de chez elles et autres, ont des difficultés. On soutient plusieurs actions.
We support several initiatives by women's groups, such as an oil-producing cooperative near Taza, or farming, or a dressmaking shop near Ouarzazate. These provide the basis for little local revolutions in places where women's main activity was formerly housework. Now they can assert themselves in a complementary relationship to men.
S'affirmer par rapport aux hommes d'une façon plus complémentaire. Beaucoup de gens découvrent que, effectivement, des chrétiens.
Many people discover that Christians are in solidarity with them, without any hope of gain. For example, we helped 350 families obtain surgery for children with heart malformations. Many were astonished that Christians were helping them have access to hospitals and paying for the operations. This is really very important now, at a time of worldwide interreligious tensions and severe economic divisions.
Il y a aussi des tensions interreligieuses, des clivages économiques et très durs.
والله لو خيروني في محبتكم والله لو خيروني.
Au Maroc, il y a la liberté de culte pour les chrétiens étrangers.
In Morocco, there is freedom of worship for foreign Christians, but there is not religious freedom, which means a Moroccan does not have the right to convert. So some small steps have been taken, but right now that's the way it is. I believe this is inherent in Islam, even though there are verses in the Quran that say we should not impose religion by force. But it is very difficult for a Muslim to convert to Christianity. And here it is impossible, because the king is also the commander of the faithful. In 2011, he wanted to introduce religious freedom into the constitution. But the Islamic parties said, if you do that, we will vote against it. So that has not happened. On the other hand, Tunisia set what I consider an admirable example last spring when they enshrined freedom of religion and freedom of conscience in their constitution. Now, how they will really apply that is another question, but at least it is written into the law.
Après, comment matériellement ça va se faire, ça c'est autre chose. Mais c'est déjà maintenant un texte de loi. Dans les mariages islamo-chrétiens, il y en a, je dirais, beaucoup.
There are many Muslim-Christian marriages in Morocco. A Christian woman who marries a Moroccan man can keep her Christian faith. The bishop can give a dispensation for a mixed marriage in the church. Here we do it if the husband agrees, but that is very rare. For Christian women, the difficulty is that if they stay Christian, they will not have the right to inherit, and they will not have the right to custody of the children in case of divorce. So a woman's children will live with her husband and in-laws, because children of an Islamic Christian marriage are necessarily Muslims. They don't have the right to be baptized. I refuse to baptize them because they won't have a life, so it's not worth it. On the other hand, if a Christian man wants to marry a Moroccan woman, the only freedom he has is to convert. So he's forced to convert. Therefore, I can't say he's Christian anymore.
Prima di convertirmi, credendo molto in Dio.
Before I embraced Islam, because I believed very much in God, I asked my now wife to provide me with the books, to find me a copy of the Quran in Italian. I read it all. I read the books. I got informed. And only at the end of this path did I agree to convert to Islam.
Dans la mentalité marocaine,
according to the Moroccan Islamic mentality, a dad will never give his daughter to someone who is not a Muslim.
This is a very big problem that I'm afraid the Synod did not address properly. The problem was only mentioned. We should create a structure at a pastoral level and a legal formulation good for both sides. It is not impossible.
Questo non è impossibile.
What really hurts me is the Islamophobia in the European world. If someone is afraid of Islam, he cannot love it. You cannot get in contact with it. So obviously we're going to fight. As long as we are afraid of something, we are going to defend ourselves.
Pour la plupart du temps, nous ne rencontrons pas de difficultés.
Most of the time, we meet with no difficulties in doing our work. Maybe there are radical or fundamentalist people, but they do not come and see us.
Plus radicales ou intégristes, mais elles viennent pas nous voir.
Lo Stato marocchino ci rispetta. E io sono molto conosciuto in prefettura.
The Moroccan state respects us. I am well known in the prefecture. I have never been told to be careful. The people who live near our church know there's a priest here. They know this is a place of Christian Catholic worship, and they respect it. They respect me. In fact, when they celebrate their feasts such as Eid, or other feasts when they're distributing gifts to friends, some of them send gifts to me. This is a sign of neighborliness and good relations. Muslims hold us in high esteem. They respect our faith. That has surprised me. There may be extremists, but they don't fill the streets. They are really respectful of how we live, and this challenges us because our presence testifies to what we live most deeply inside ourselves.
Une présence qui rend témoignage à ce que nous vivons au plus profond de nous-mêmes.
C'est vrai que l'on voit de plus en plus de femmes voilées, on voit de plus en plus d'hommes barbus.
It's true that we see more and more veiled women. We see more and more bearded men. But that does not mean we fear we are going to be attacked. Sometimes I meet veiled women I've known for a long time, and even wearing the veil, they embrace me in the street. So you could say human relationships will prevail over extremism. It is important for Christians to know what Islam really is, so they have to study it. And it's also important that Muslims know what Christianity is.
Et aussi que les musulmans sachent ce qu'est aussi le christianisme.
Io dico al musulmano, integra.
To the Muslim, I say, integrate knowledge of Christianity into your faith, even as I try to integrate the reality of Islam into my knowledge of Christianity. Because truth is not only one side, but there are also specks of light of truth on the other. If we combine these specks of light, we will have a light bulb.
L'Église, elle doit être ouverte au monde.
The church should be open to the world. If I see my church centered on myself, I will be unemployed in Morocco. I will not have anything to do. But if I am present to a world I love, and I work with this world, and I do things with this world, then it's not my problem whether or not people become Christian. They are loved by God. The important thing is I'm here to manifest God's love for the men and women of today.